Is there still that much prejudice in baseball today?
No, I don't believe it's prejudice. I truly believe that they may not have some of the necessities to be, let's say, a field manager or perhaps a general manager.
You really believe that?
Well, I don't say that they're all of them, but they certainly are short. How many quarterbacks do you have? How many pitchers do you have that are black? It's same
yeah, but I mean,
applies.
I got to tell you, that sounds like the same kind of garbage we were hearing 40 years ago about players when they were saying, not really cut out. You remember the days, hit a black football player in the knees, and no, that really sounds like garbage if you forget me saying so.
It's not garbage, Mr. Koppel, because I played on a college team, and the center fielder was black, and in the backfield at NYU with a fullback who was black. Never knew the difference of whether he was black or white. We were teammates. So it just might be that why are black men or black people not good swimmers? Because they don't have the buoyancy.
Black athletes and the false stereotypes of less intellect. Let's talk about it.
Because I think you need it.
Well, let me just say this, Mr. Koppel. How many executives do you have on a higher level or higher echelon in your business?
Yeah,
in TV.
You're absolutely right.
Or anchormen. How many black anchormen do you have?
Fortunately, there are.
Turnabout.
Yeah, fortunately there are a few black anchormen. But if you want me to tell you why there aren't any black executives, I'm not going to tell you it's because the blacks aren't intelligent enough. I'm going to tell you because it is that whites have been running the establishment of broadcasting, just as they've been running the establishment of baseball for too long, and seem to be reluctant to give up power.
From former Dodger Al Campanis.
The black is a better athlete to begin with because he's been bred to be that way, because of his high thighs and big thighs that goes up into his back.
To famed broadcaster Jimmy the Greek Snyder's words.
Pretty soon they're going to have to equalize it for the blacks, for the Greeks, the Jews, and for everybody. I mean, let's make it equal for everybody,
And is it equal? What about in sports?
Well, they've got everything. If they take over coaching like everybody wants them to, there's not going to be anything left for the white people. I mean, all the players are black. I mean, the only thing that the whites control is the coaching jobs. Now, I'm not being derogatory about it, but that's all that's left for them.
The stereotype sadly remains to this day. It has just evolved in the presentation and words used. George Preston Marshall, a devout segregationist, saw Fritz Pollard, a chemistry major and All-American at Brown University, who went on to quarterback the Akron Pros, a pro football team, to a championship in 1920. Marshall concocted a plan: ban black players, and thus they did. In 1933, the National Football League did just that, and it reportedly came at the behest of Marshall. He'd argue if African Americans were allowed to play, white players, especially those from the South, would go to extremes to physically disable them. Sports sociologist Jay Coakley said it started with inferiority, that black athletes lack courage and stamina. That was thrown out the window when Jack Johnson defeated Jim Jeffries, an undefeated white heavyweight, in a bout that was centered around race. Coakley would tell The Guardian the goalposts then shifted from physically not fit to intellectually unevolved, that they were actually lower on the ladder of evolution than white people and somehow closer to our animal ancestors. And that's the ideology, the cultural context that prevailed when the major sports in the U.S. were desegregated. The NFL would continue upholding white supremacy when George Taliaferro became the second black quarterback ever, though he only threw 16 passes in a season. After Brown v. Board of Education and President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act, sports started to desegregate, but under a few conditions. Middle linebacker, center, and the prominent of them all, quarterback, were seen as intellectual positions and thus were afforded to white players. Because of this, players like James Lofton had to make the switch to wide receiver. Marlon Briscoe, who was in the College Hall of Fame, was told by the Denver Broncos to play defensive back. After the team's starter stunk, Briscoe, playing DB, was called in to take the snaps at a position he was supposedly inferior at. He would be runner-up to Rookie of the Year, throwing 14 touchdowns. The next year, Briscoe would be relinquished of his duties, signed with the Bills, then the Dolphins, catching passes at wideout. It's not lost on anyone that guys like Warren Moon, Doug Williams, Randall Cunningham had to be not just good, but great in the few opportunities allotted. Sadly, the mental wherewithal concept continued. In 2004, J.R. Woodward, a sports sociologist, conducted a study of how publications rated NFL prospects. Scouts, he found, generally showered black prospects with physical accolades, whites with mental ones. Then, there was a pair of studies that suggested unconscious racial bias, propagated in part by sports media, still influence how the public views the quarterback position. Who could forget Bill Polian?
Lamar Jackson, speaking of size, quarterback or wide receiver on the next level? I think wide receiver, exceptional athlete, exceptional ability to make you miss, exceptional acceleration, exceptional instinct with the ball in his hand, and that's rare for wide receivers. That's AB and who else? Name me another one who's like that, right? Julio's not even like that. This guy is incredible in the open field and great ability to separate. And again, short and a little bit slight and clearly not the thrower that the other guys are. The accuracy isn't there. Yeah. So I would say, don't wait to make that change. Don't be like the kid from Ohio State and be 29 when you make the change.
His thoughts on the matter was the standard. Switch him to wide receiver. Jackson, in the meantime, solidified his status as a quarterback that not only belongs but wins. He dazzled the masses at Louisville, winning the Heisman Trophy as the nation's best player. In the NFL draft of 2018, Jackson saw Baker Mayfield go number 1. The Jets take Sam Darnold at number 3. The Bills select Josh Allen, another questionable passer coming into the NFL, at number 7. And the Cardinals selecting Josh Rosen at 10. Before being selected by the Baltimore Ravens as the last pick of the first round.
The pro teams are asking him if he wants to switch positions to play something else.
It's very disrespectful.
Yeah, why did they ask you that?
Because you know,
because they don't fit the description.
Yeah, you do know why.
Well, the truth is, there's a lot of history with them not wanting black guys to play quarterback.
In football?
Tons of history. It started with, they can't think quick enough. This is going way back, 70s, 80s, and it's dying
Every day
off.
y'all give me more reasons to.
It's dying off, but it's still there.
It's still there. That's why I need that championship. On
HBO's The Shop, Maverick Carter went over the historical bias as well. And most recently, ex-NFL coach Mike Martz.
Do you think a Lamar Jackson can get to the point where he can be a great passer and win a Super Bowl?
I don't know, because they don't have a lot of receivers around him, and just kind of by what the nature of what they do, I don't know how good at processing things. And that's the key, how quick you can process, read and react, and he certainly can throw the ball well enough. I would never doubt that, but the key to everything, that Joe Montana or the Brady and Mahomes, is what they see and can react to correctly is remarkable in such a short period of time. I don't know if he has that.
Although, as Coakley said, it is dying, this racial bias. It is dying a slow death. It is simply decaying, with the likes of Mike Martz gasping for air as the days go on, and the sport simply evolves and moves past this frame of thinking.